Hey y'all, welcome back to Blocc Party, an Insecure podcast where we dive into the untold stories of Insecure. I'm Issa Rae.
And I'm Prentice Penny, and this episode is brought to you by Gatorade Lower Sugar. And we're going to be diving into season 1, episode 4, Thirsty AF.
Thirsty AF, it is career day. This episode gets into the return of Daniel, which... First of all, can I share? Do you remember we did a table read for this episode?
I do remember.
And this was like, how many months post the pilot? We saw Daniel.
Oh, the pilot was like around Labor Day. So this is like April,
September,
March.
And so, yeah, we returned.
Yeah.
So we had table reads around like probably January, February.
Yeah.
Before we started shooting.
Yeah.
And Alon came to like the table read.
Yeah.
And he was on in his like vegan bag.
Yeah.
Alon, who plays Daniel. And he was in his vegan bag. He was looking like the pilot Daniel. Yeah. And we had this one scene where we had Mirror Issa talking to Mirror Daniel. And it had like, and Daniel has abs on abs on abs.
He takes his shirt off.
He takes his shirt off. He has abs on abs on abs. And Alon, I remember he was like getting a bagel or whatever. And he was just like, nah, I'm not eating this. He took that so personally. And then when he returned, he really he was swole and he really had abs on abs on abs. I was like, what is
he did.
this?
He came back.
He was like, y'all wrote it. So, shout out to Alon for changing his entire body. I don't know what he like this was a Marvel show.
Well, it's funny. That's one of your first memories.
I said to return to Daniel. I just admire the dedication. As
to have abs on abs.
Have abs on abs on abs. This is also Lawrence starts to work at Best Buy.
Yes, Lawrence started to be at Best Buys in this episode.
Yeah, the Best Buy shirt that would become
iconic.
Immortalized.
Yeah.
And of course, Molly is meeting new men.
Yeah.
The lead, including Brandon Bell and the incredible Jidenna.
And a college friend of yours, obviously.
Yeah, my college homie Jidenna. And of course, at the end of this episode, the broken pussy.
The broken pussy comes back.
The kids.
Broken pussy always seems to come back.
Not for me. No.
Just in life.
Just in life.
Just in life. Just in life.
If you don't take care of it, if you don't fix it, it's gonna stay broken. And if it ain't broke, don't
and blow bubbles in it. So what's your favorite memory from actually making the episode?
Oh, so many. I mean, I loved shooting the Mirror Issa fantasy scene.
That was so much fun.
This is also when you guys were throwing a lot of alts for this scene for when Molly interrupts the fantasy. And one of my favorite jokes ever.
Which one?
That makes you pick. Oh, that made it in there was Molly pops into the fantasy and she's like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "Huh? Oh, I was just asking Siri where Malcolm Jamal Warner was born." It's Brooklyn.
It's Brooklyn.
And I was like, how does she know that it was Brooklyn? Is that actually true?
It is actually true. Shout out to that.
Playoffs,
yeah.
Shout out to Issa D for knowing the information up front. But that was so much fun putting all the different elements together and kind of establishing a new space for Mirror Issa. And it felt like we were really into the groove of the show and going across, revisiting old elements, seeing the kids again.
My favorite memory was obviously the Ty Dolla stuff. One that we got Ty, and it was funny because it's obviously much different watching that than how we shot it, right? Because it's all shot in these very specific kind of ways, and so you are. I think this is gonna work because it's not everything's kind of bouncing around. Or we got that one part. Now we need to get this part, but I could see it how it was gonna come together. So that was fun. But something else that was fun that I think is something that people don't know is really something that happened, I think, behind the scenes was, one of the things in the show is you want to be able to pass on so many things, right? And one of the things I remember was, I think this was one of the first episodes we were editing, and there were elements we liked. And I remember telling our editor, I was like, "Oh, can you just split the screen? And can you just put the words in their mouth on this take?" And you were like, "We could do that." It was
now
putting.
I'm fascinated.
Split the screen is yes. Where you have a good take of this one, but this person's coverage is off, and that's off, and so you're like, "But I like this from this take, and I like this from this take," and if you in editing, you'll do an invisible line, and then you're kind of combining two different takes that weren't of the same thing, and I remember. It happened, and you were like, "Wait, you can do that." And so watching you were telling "Hey, can we split the screen? Can you just put it in their mouth? Can you just do that?" And I was like, just watching your post game come along, I was like, "Okay,
truly, This was because there were so many technical components, and it felt like we were finally in a groove. I was actually thinking the other day, watching an episode. actually of something else that I was shooting, where the satisfying thing, and you know, I love all episodes of Insecure, but there was a time when we would shoot episodes and I'd be like, Prentice, can you just fix this? And I would come in, you do your pass first, and I'll come in. Because I don't know how to fix this. I don't know how to make this right. And I miss being able to be like, Prentice, can you fix this? Before
like,
I dive
Prentice?
into it.
Just calling it out.
Call Prentice, he'll fix the episode and I'll come in. So many memories, but let's get into this episode piece by piece.
Going into episode 4, we're sort of figuring out so many things from the writer's room to on-set to editing, but it's also a big episode for people, again, who don't know behind the scenes. So what was your headspace like, and was there any hiccups we hit as we were turning this part of the season into HBO?
Man, boy, there were a lot of hiccups, and there was a lot of pressure too.
Yeah.
This was the infamous kind of like rewrite Finding the Show episode where we kind of had to figure out where all the characters were going. But I distinctly remember being in the parking lot of, maybe it was when either Lawrence going to Best Buy. We shot that parking lot separate from where we actually shot the Best Buy.
Yeah, we
I
did.
think that day. And that's when the news that Lombardo was out at HBO came out. And I remember that came out first, and I was like, he's who greenlit the show.
Who greenlit the show.
They just gave us this big rewrite note, and like, what does that mean for our show? We're shooting this shit. Can it
was
just
scary.
not? I was panicky. And then like an hour later, it was like, Casey Bloys to be the new president. I was like, we in this bitch.
And shout out to Casey, who also was a big champion of the show.
He would develop this show. And so to know that he was our guy and he was becoming the president, it was like a boost of just like, okay, we still can't fuck up.
No.
But
we got the big homie.
We got the big homie who wanted this show to happen that's presidents. But I remember that parking lot panic of none of this shit even matter. I don't even know why we shoot.
I think you were in one part of the lot and I was in another part of the lot, and we were like on a joint call, and I was like, oh man, this usually never ends well. Yeah. Because every new president wants to come put their stamp on the network. And so you don't really know who that is. And again, we haven't, been anything yet. And so it is like, oh, is this going to get like shelved immediately?
And it wasn't.
No.
It was, we love Michael Lombardo wherever he's at.
But you said something that I think we kind of skipped over, which was we had just gone through a big rewrite situation there. Do you want to share sort of like what happened and what we did?
Well, I don't know. I don't remember much beyond we wrote some shit. Yeah. And HBO was not fucking with it. And I think, well, specifically, I remember for this episode, the first one that we turned in, Amy's feedback, Amy Gravitt, our exec on this.
Amy Gravitt.
Shout out to Amy Gravitt. She was like, it feels too episodic, whatever you guys are trying to do. And I remember not really understanding what that meant. Like, but it's clearly a serial show. Like the things are going from the storyline is moving, but to her, how we presented it. And I think we had more emphasis on maybe Issa's broken pussy video getting out.
Yeah, we definitely had more thing on that. We also had the Daniel infidelity moment wasn't happening until the end. We were like, oh, we'll have him cheat at the end. And it was like, that was going to be the whole big thing. And it was going to be like they kiss or whatever.
We're like, we're leading into
season 2 going to be like the fallout. And Amy Gravitt was like, no. There may not be a season 2. So we got to get everything up. So it was a day where they were like, hey, the moment where she cheats, move that up to the middle. And then I remember us being like, well, what we going to do after that? She was like, well, I guess y'all figure it out.
Yeah, got writers, right? I got a writers.
Yep. And it was a kind of painting yourself into a corner, get yourself out, right? And so I remember that was, and normally we would have normal like kind of 5 p.m. end of days. And I remember we told everybody to stay put in the writer's room. We went to the meeting, we drove back, and we were like, we got to figure this out. And we stayed there at least till like 9 or 10 o'clock. And that's when we had a board and we were like, let's just if we move this up, now what? That's where Tasha was created because she wasn't a part of the show initially.
So we doubled back and put her in 3?
We doubled back and put her in 3. It was really like a beautiful mind situation. We were like, okay, what if this happens now? What if that happens now? And it really, so much of the season actually came out of that 3-hour session of being like, we got to figure this out. And then we drank afterwards.
My mind blocks out trauma, so I forgot.
No, it lives deep in my bones.
Clearly, I remember vaguely the panic of whatever this meeting was, and then I remember fixing it. I was like, everything's fine, but I distinctly remember having to move up the cheating, and it was all the better for it because yeah, we were a little bit too presumptuous to be saving the good shit. And that's what also taught me, like, don't save no good shit for season 2. Put all your good shit in season 1. And then try to keep making better shit. And we were always trying to kind of top ourselves within the confines of the story. Of course.
And to that end, to your point about, you're like, oh, it was fine. I remember I had this weird deal. And my deal was I could got fired at any moment. I don't know if you know this. So my deal was, just because you're going to run the pilot doesn't mean you can run the first season. And it was, we can fire you at any point in the season. And it was also just because you do season 1, there's no guarantee you'll do season 2. So I had all these like, I was always like, but I never told obviously anybody that. And I just remember there was that day, the next day, Jonathan was like, hey, I'm going to connect you to Larry. And Larry could not have been nicer, but it was almost a thing of like, oh, am I about to be gone?
What was it? I'm gonna connect you with Larry
I think just to like a reset a little bit.
Larry Wilmore,
shout out to it. Yeah. And he just gave great advice about like, which I'm sure he gave you when you were writing, which is like, keep pushing it, trust your instincts or whatever. Like it was never, my thing was like, oh, they about to bring in Larry. Like that was my feeling. And then, you know, I had never, you know what I mean? But I was just like, this shit gotta work. But he could not have been nicer. He was great. He was like, if there's any time you need me, call me. He said, I'm not trying to come back. And he was awesome. He could not have been more awesome about it. But I was just like, I could get fired. I mean, I couldn't,
no idea.
So I'm like, we gotta figure this shit out, y'all. We staying tonight. I don't give a fuck how long we gotta stay. We in this motherfucker.
Y'all want a job? If I go,
I'm running this whole shit down. I'm leaking scripts, motherfucker. I'm ruining it.
Well, I'm glad you didn't get fired.
Yeah, I did get fired. So I'm here, so I did not get fired.
You made it.
I made it.
So this episode is obviously called Thirsty AF, and there is a lot of thirsting in this episode. Yeah. First of all, I gotta give out, we haven't given a proper shout out to Ben Corey Jones, who's the reason we had our as fuck titling.
Yeah, shout out to Ben.
I feel like he just said it one day of just maybe it was this episode, he'll correct us. Maybe he called this episode Thirsty as Fuck. And then we started, I remember as a room, we started going back and trying to label all the episodes, and that became like a motif for our titles. But for this particular episode, do you remember any controversial topics that came up in the room?
To me, what was really fun was honestly watching Molly cringily ruining the date.
You know that...
Well, here's my thing. Here's my thought about that. And then I'm happy to hear what you would. So one of the things we always talk about in the show is how Molly is with guys, right? But we never really see it. You know, we see like kind of her and Jared thing, but it's like, okay, she got into the league. I mean, that happens. You whatever. But you don't really watch her disassemble, break the thing, right? And it was like watching the thing, you're like, it's that thing where you go, where women would be like, I got a this, I got a that. And it's like all the things Molly says she has, which is like, I have a degree, I have a this, I got my money, I got my this, I got my that. And then you're also then watching her just be like, this dude's cool. You just sabotage it. And we had always, you're like, why can't she figure it out? She has all these other things. And then we got to see it in real time. And that was hard.
So that part specifically about the text was something that I brought, from my real friendship. And I remember wanting to put that in the show. And thank God my girl, my bestie does not do this anymore. But early on in relationships, she could not get over, like, if you say you're gonna text, even with us, like as friends, like, girl, you said you was gonna call me back last night. Like, what happened? I'm like, girl, we in school. You know I was studying. Like, I thought the conversation was over.
Niggas never do this. I've never, like, yo, homie, you supposed to text me last night. Like, what?
So that was her thing. And she would tell me, like, so he told me he was going to call me and he didn't. So, so it's a wrap. I'm like, girl, something could have come up. But no. And it was just like such a slight for her. Because she is, to her credit and in her defense, she is a solid bitch. Like if she says she's going to do something, she will do it, and she's reliable. And so she holds other people to the same standard, and guys wouldn't like that. So that is one of my favorite scenes. I think Brandon Bell played it perfectly. And even Yvonne killed it of just, it's just a little thing.
It's just a little thing. She wanted to know you got home. Okay.
Yo, I'm so glad this hasn't been a one and done type of thing.
What do you mean?
I just haven't met someone in a while that I actually want to go on multiple dates with.
Wow. Well, that makes me happy to hear.
Yeah.
Oh, how was your work dinner last night? You didn't text me when you got home.
Oh, yeah, my bad. After I left, I was so tired I just crashed.
Oh, okay. Well, I just want to know that you got home safely. That's all.
I appreciate the concern. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's just the little things.
Like, they're not together.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things, too, where it's like, yeah, he could, but he doesn't like, you know what I mean? Like, they're not like a thing. So it is a little bit of like her wanting it so bad and being like, girl, you thirsty.
But she has, the good thing about Molly this episode is that she has options.
Yes.
And later on, she does get to meet her dreamboat, a fellow lawyer, Jidenna, played by Jidenna.
Yeah.
What I thought was a really sexy scene.
It's great. That's one of my favorite. I remember we were filming that scene at the Mint on Pico. And I remember it was the first time I think we had even had a scene like that in the show that felt like that. And I remember when we were I think this is Kevin Bray's episode.
Yeah.
Shout out to Kevin Bray. And he comes from the world of music videos.
Yep.
So when he was shooting it, I could see the music video part of his brain be like, oh, I'm going to make the camera do this. And it's spinning. And shout out to the internet who's performing.
Well, it was that was 1500 or nothing. Performing the internet song. The girl cover, and it was so great.
Yeah, it was great.
We put it on our soundtrack.
Yep. And just watching that scene, I was like, oh, I want this for her.
I know. I wanted her. Please don't fuck it up, Molly.
Yeah. So obviously, Molly is, very thirsty this episode. How did we talk about thirst, or what is too thirsty, or do you remember any of those kind of conversations we talk about that, or just in general?
First of all, I would argue that Molly and Issa are pretty thirsty this episode.
Yes,
like,
Issa's thirsty for sure.
That kind of encompassed their characters at the time, and I know that we talked about like being thirsty is just feeling too pressed and just wanting it too badly, like you said, for Molly, and in Issa's case, kind of being in denial about what you really want.
Yeah.
And we've all been there, guys. We've all been there.
Tasha's thirsty too in this episode.
Tasha actually Tasha is the as fuck part of thirsty because
all the women are thirsty. All the women are thirsty.
Yeah, that's right. It was kind of a this is the infamous I got me some brown rice. Had me cracking up during the whole episode. But yeah, she had
a for real app.
Yeah, she was so encouraging to Lawrence, but we just wanted to show the range of thirstiness for women.
Yeah.
We opened this episode with just a beautiful array of shots of Lawrence running through Inglewood. Mm-hmm. And, even watching that back was so thrilling because we used to both live in that same area. Yeah. I was like, oh, he's running by that brick mosque that's right by my old house. And then he runs into the shower with Issa.
Yeah. The shots kind of also harken back to the pilot, right? Which is like how we're hearing Kendrick over the shots of Inglewood, obviously. So it's the first time we're kind of seeing the city again like that. And then coming into the shower part, I believe Laura Cottrell talked about somebody she knew who hurt themselves trying to have sex in the shower, right? Like got paralyzed. Not paralyzed, but like she talked about somebody tried to have sex in the shower and they fell and slipped. And we were like, oh, let's put that in
as a joke in the show.
As a joke in the show. And just watching, now it's too hot. It also just showed
shower sex is not great.
Water sex in general is typically not. It sounds better than what it is. Mm-hmm. But I remember, again, that episode of the feet go, and I was like, oh, this is such a perfect example of this couple. And it was also the first time I think we started cutting off cold opens like right in the middle. Yeah. And that felt like a fun way to we cut again, like learning things about the show. We just say, oh, this was like a funny part. And then we just would usually start to do that if we had something comedic, like cut out before you see the rest of it.
Yeah. I remember shooting that was just as...
Was that your first naked scene with Jay? Or supposedly I
had on a full leotard in the shower.
Okay.
But I remember that specifically. I was like, I'm not about to be butt ass in this. Like, what are the tricks? Tell me. And I had a leotard getting wet. But it was fun to shoot for sure. This is also the first episode where we fully see Issa and Lawrence being back good. Yeah. Of course, Lawrence is on a run showing that he's trying to get back into shape again. He's getting back in his patterns and of course is taking this job at Best Buy. But it was so great to see them be in a good place.
It was a way that you could see oh, this is how they used to be.
Yeah.
So you can say oh, and then she does what she does.
Whoa, we're not there. They buying a new couch together.
They are buying a new couch.
A sign and
lotion pump.
And that is when they're buying. So Can we talk about the lotion pump?
Sure.
This is kind of you guys are watching episode 4. You're going to watch episode 5. We tried something as writers. We did. Nobody got it. And it's fine because it was the framing. I blame, you know what it is?
Is that what you
have? I know it is.
Okay.
Because I think so long story short, we see this couple fighting while Issa and Lawrence are buying a couch.
Yep.
And in the writer's room, Laura had a story about, Laura, the writer of this episode, had a story about being in IKEA and watching a couple fight over a lotion pump.
Lotion pump.
And just like it was very clear that the husband did not like
hated his wife.
And so we were like, we should put that in there as an example of the couple that Lawrence and Issa never want to be.
Yep.
And so we even put that in their mouths where Issa was like, I will always let you buy the lotion.
Yeah.
And so that was supposed to be the symbol of them reuniting and recommitting to each other in some ways, aside from her saying, I'm in this in episode 3.
Aside from her saying she's going to be faithful.
Okay. I'm in this is not, I'm in this for now.
I'm in this with the lotion pump.
So we were like, we got this. And then in episode 5, after she fucks, that's how deep we thought we were. In episode 5, after she fucks Daniel, she gonna look in the mirror and then she gonna see the lotion pump.
You got the same lotion pump and be like, what I do?
Like, that's what it takes.
Nah, I just fucked this nigga all across the studio. Just the lotion pump is like.
But I blame framing and I blame our communication to directors because episode 4 was directed by Kevin Bray. Episode 5 was directed by Melina. I don't know that we properly articulated
to Kevin
that, hey, this lotion pump that we shot in episode 4 is a big moment for 5. It should have gotten its own thing, but people were just like, she looked at her. It worked. People were like, she looked at herself in the mirror and realized or whatever. That what have I done? Or just the realization that you have that you cheated. But we tried to get way deeper and it didn't work.
It didn't work. I feel like that was like, how when you were in like making movies as a student and you're like, I'm about to put the symbolic shit in this. They gonna know that the chains of this is the chains of the Africans. And that's you stuck, you're all about to be deep with this shit. Yeah. Ooh, they gonna like they gonna see the lotion pump. They gonna be like, they deep.
They deep. Ooh, lotion pumps. The symbolism of faith.
Yeah.
So that was a little writer fail on our part.
Yeah. Speaking of ways in which, people have regrettable decisions, it's the first time we see Daniel.
It is.
Since the pilot. So he came up to the job, mad stalkerish, as she says.
We wanted to establish Daniel's character and just visually you want to see someone we haven't seen him for 3 episodes.
Yeah.
He's making his appearance and in this infamous rewrite that you talked about, like we didn't have a lot of time.
Yeah, we didn't.
For Issa to decide to make this move. So seeing him in person, obviously triggered something in her. And the career day storyline is also something that we're excited to come up with. Just give her a reason to invite him to this career day.
Molly says, she has a great line where she was like, Daniel came up to you, need me, had the whole conference room for this.
Yeah.
Which is a great line. And she says that he's your Achilles dick.
Yeah.
Why do you think Daniel is her Achilles dick? And do all women have, I'm just curious, so I can wonder if my wife's good. Do a lot of women have Achilles dick?
Without a doubt. You're
But she had never slept with Daniel. Or no, they did sleep together.
Yeah, they were like,
so they were,
they were like high school, college, whatever. I think there's, in every woman's life, there's like the best dick of her life, and then there's who she ends up with. Because you really can't marry. You can't marry. Sorry, I promise you. Go home and ask Tasha right now. Don't get your feelings hurt. You can't marry.
No.
You can't marry.
Don't make me cry on this podcast.
You can't. I don't think you can marry the best dick of your life. I think you have to.
Why? Do you think the best dick of your life is like toxic dick? Or are you at a young age where where you're like, oh, this is not going to work out because we're so young and whatever?
I think it's twofold. I don't know, the toxicity and also the can't have it. And then sometimes, like, I would say the men who have the most to offer in bed don't have the most to offer in life.
Okay.
Unless you're like extremely blessed.
Okay.
It is. But that's not to say that you're marrying like the
trash
worst.
dick.
Yeah, no. It's just like there is a certain pedestal, I would say, that you just,
Pet a dick.
I guess. And it might make you go crazy in a way. So I don't know that Daniel is that, but we talked about Daniel's being her Achilles dick and her what if guy. And I feel like that combination of just the grass is greener and what if and is always going to be tempting to her.
The lotion pump is like the day before. The second this nigga shows up in like a tank top or whatever he was wearing, she's like, oh, he's swole, he got LASIK or whatever. He can see, he fine. I mean, you lose it.
No, that is not true. First of all, he rose up.
Go to the clip. Go to the clip.
Ace, I'm sorry about what happened in your car that night.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was the first time that we had hung out in like 5 years. I just should have handled it differently.
Yeah, well, I was going through a lot that night, so.
Still, though, you know, we go back. I want things to be off between us.
Me neither.
So she calls Molly because, first of all, he comes to her job.
He does.
And the last time she saw Daniel, he was like, relationship.
I didn't know he was talking about all
calm
that.
down, thirsty bitch. And so he basically kind of ghosted her after that, but then she ghosted him. I think we figured
I think it was
out
like a
quick.
mutual kind of ghost.
So,
he apologizes.
He apologizes. So yes, it's shocking that he appears. I wouldn't call her thirsty at that moment. She has to call her best friend. And yeah, he rose up in a tank top. He knew what he was doing, coming in, working out, and then showing up to the job. So I think it was just more of a like, get off me. Like,
with the whole smile.
Stop. Girl, he was all up in here. And I think that's the like, why are you talking about empanadas and shit? Like, it's that. So she wasn't trying to go after it. He was just flaunting it. So she also says, thank you for my point. She also says, I'm back with Lauren. She is very clear about her boundaries. So she's noble. And then he says something like, so my timing is perfect, huh? So he's like still dishing it out. So Issa is completely innocent in this scene. She's done nothing wrong.
I agree she's innocent in this scene. But when she calls Molly, her energy is on different.
No, when she calls Molly, she is still innocent because she's being honest about her feelings. It's like, I'm trying to level up. Me and Lawrence are here. And every single time, which is actually fact. Every time an ex knows you're doing good,
I agree with that.
So she's just, she can't vent?
To me, it feels like she's like kind of not wanting an okay to cheat, but definitely wanting her friend to just be like, I mean, if it happened, girl, whatever. But Molly kind of holds you to the carpet about it. But I do feel like there's that pause there in the scene where she's like,
into it as a man. You're reading it too much into it. This is girl talk. She says he got fined.
Okay, here's a question.
Sure.
In real life, or maybe Issa for the character, do you think if Molly would have said, not the Achilles dick part, but if she had said, girl, so what you gonna do?
What you mean? There's nothing to do. There's nothing to do at this stage.
Okay, so she said,
when I get to my theory, I'm gonna show you right now. Okay, I cannot wait for you to hear my theory.
Okay. So obviously, you know, watching you thirst over Daniel and my boy Lawrence out here working a 9 to 5, working at Best Buy.
We don't know his shit.
Well, he's working at Best Buy.
Lawrence, he had a tech background. He went to Georgetown, so he kind of had to humble himself to take this Best Buy job. Just having to start over and that having to humble yourself and be like, yeah, I can't get the job I want, but I still need to provide and get any job. And I think we talked about Best Buy as one of the things that could still feel like he's using he wasn't debasing himself so much where he couldn't use his tech skills.
Right.
But he was proud to work there.
Yeah.
And so of course having this moment where we even take that away from him, where it's like, I work with computers at Best Buy. Now I'm working in a washer dryer. So just kind of bring him to this lowest point so that we could also have this character to help build him back up in the Tasha world.
Yeah, it was funny. Like I was a Lawrence in this moment. And I think I talked about this in the room. Like, after I graduated film school, you know, I'm working little things here and there, but nothing was kind of like hitting like that. And I remember I had to like start taking UCLA extension classes. Like I didn't know how to write television because at the time TV wasn't a big thing and USC didn't have a bunch of TV classes. So I actually was like, I got to learn how to write TV. And I also wanted a gig that wasn't going to interfere with like, I didn't really have to be committed to if it went left, which is when I started like substitute teaching and I was working at Sylvan Learning Institute and I worked at a nonprofit. You know, again, you don't know how those things are going to kind of come back to help you, but it was humbling to be like, I'm a tutor, I'm a substitute. Like I'm doing all these things that are not connected, and I'm writing at night. And people are like, didn't you go to film school already? It's like, yes. And my wife's a full ass attorney. She making 90 G's, and I'm like barely making 1,700. I'm like, here's 90,000 and 1,700. You know, and but the thing that I learned in that moment was sometimes in life, I learned more how to be a man in that moment when it's like, when you don't see any evidence of like things, your dreams happening, can you still show up and just do whatever you got to do, even if it's ugly, right? Even if it's not what you want. And so that type of stuff I could very easily relate to with Lawrence.
You know, I think deciding on Best Buy and having him in the uniform, do we know that Lawrence Hive was going to be born?
God, no.
But you did have that idea. That was all you. We'll get to that when we get to the finale of just, I feel like you masterminded the whole end of the episode. That was your big
Oh,
focus.
yeah, that was,
Yeah, because we were going to have that
be
in the next season that we weren't sure we were going to get.
Yep.
We didn't actually get to shoot in the Best Buy, though. Fun fact.
No,
Best
we
Buy
did not.
was like, no, but they got to capitalize off of all the Best Buy. Did they even? No, they never gave us a tweet.
No, they never did.
Chase did.
Chase did.
Gave Tasha a shout out, but no, we had to like recreate.
Yeah, we were filming at this like El Curacao, Curacao store out in, I forget, like out in North Hollywood.
Yeah, it was super random, and then we shot the food court scenes like around
at the same
day,
I mean, the thing I remember about the food court, I remember about that mall. It was one of those malls where there's no name brand stores in that mall. It would be like, instead of like Foot Locker, it would be like Shoe Closet, or it's like Victoria's Secret, it'd be like, you know, Amy's Private Thoughts. It's just like, what is this store? Like, it just be random, you know, hats with like 5 Z's instead of lids, you know?
It felt
like a set but it was also like we were new, so nobody knew where we were. So I think, you know, obviously other seasons people knew who we were, and so we could say, but then it was like, oh, we got to go recreate all these things.
Yeah, and I mean, just even if we had shot in the Best Buy, sometimes when you shoot at those places, they have rules about, you know, what their brand is associated with. And I don't know if we shot in a real Best Buy, if we could have Tasha roll up in her titties. Like, you know, like there's certain things that we would have to abide by. So it was almost better that we didn't.
Yeah, Best Buy is like titty free.
Yeah, titty free. Mm-hmm.
So obviously, as Lawrence is grinding away as a good Black man who doesn't cheat, Issa,
nobody's cheated yet. Nobody has cheated.
Issa is trying to put together career day, obviously with Frida, and Frida brings up, you know, what about your friend Daniel, and about for career day.
So up until this moment, what you're saying is Issa is on a straight and narrow path. She has told Daniel, "I'm in a relationship with Lawrence."
Yes.
And she's just trying to get this career day together.
Yes.
Frida so irresponsibly has a client drop out, and Patricia's involved.
Like, yeah, Patricia's horrible.
She has a speaker that drops out.
Yes.
And Frida, who has just met this person today, puts it in Issa's mind to text Daniel. Whoa!
Wait.
If Frida had never basically begged Issa to invite Daniel to career day, none of this shit would have ever happened. Issa would have been a faithful Black woman. She basically invited Daniel back into Issa's life. That's crazy.
Wait.
That's crazy. That's villainous behavior.
Wait,
I just want,
what?
Like, and so in rewatching this show, I was like, whoa, this whole time, Frida is the reason that Issa cheated on Lawrence. That's crazy. And nobody's blaming her.
I'm not gonna let you do this.
Nobody's blaming her. Nobody's talking about the real problem.
She's the problem?
Issa was just trying to like help her like fill the gap, you know? And so Daniel would not have come to career day. None of this would have ever happened if Frida had not told Issa.
She's not your boss.
Daniel.
She's not your boss.
Like for the good of the company. You know what I'm saying? So
you know what we're not gonna do is besmirch white women on this podcast. That's what we're not gonna do.
That's the take. That's what you lost.
Wow, you're really saying this is all?
Yeah, it's crazy
Frida.
to me. I was like, oh, this is the moment where it all went downhill. She was doing really, really good up until that point. It was that fateful time in the conference room.
She got you vulnerable. Y'all drinking.
Yeah, we had a bonding moment, and this is why you don't make friends with your white women coworker friends. This is why you don't be friends your coworkers, because she didn't know anything, and she's over here like, oh, I saw this man in a tank top. Why don't you invite him to career? You don't even know what he does. You don't even know what he does. Well, she did. She said, oh, he's in music. That's cool.
Yeah.
So because she was lusting over him, she wanted to.
Now that is interesting. I do think Frida.
We explored that.
We explored this idea because I think when she's like, when he walks away at the desk, she's kind of peeps him a little bit more like,
bye.
oh, bye-bye.
Yeah. So I'm standing by that. But to your point, yeah, Frida begs Issa to call Daniel. And so Daniel, she abides by that. And
that's where it all goes left.
That's not even where it all goes left. Where it goes left, and I will admit to this, is she should not, when she goes home later that day and Lawrence comes home from work and
he brought the pie. He brought the pie. Yep.
He asked how the day went, how career day's going. She's like, great. She didn't tell him at that moment, hey, I invited my ex. Yeah. So by omission, but technically he didn't say, hey, how'd the career day go? Did your ex pop up? If he had asked
did you invite any exes? He wasn't specific enough. Men, again, not being specific.
No, but like she should have brought it up then. And that was, I think, the beginning of the end.
So a few scenes earlier, Molly and the doctor don't work out. And so next up is Jidenna.
Yeah, it's so funny. Well, in college, I used to put on plays. And when I did an adaptation of Spike Lee's School Days, I really wanted Jidenna to play the lead. And he was doing music even back then. And, and he was just like, I'm not really an actor. And I was like, no, you'd be great. Like, just.
What was he like? Like, what was he like in college?
Just cool and really artistic. And he was kind of behind starting a music program. Him and another guy I went to high school with, Nick Chitty. They had bonded and like were really ahead of their time in terms of bringing music production to the school. But he was like, nah, I'm not going to be in it. And I always thought about it. And then when he came to see the play and gave it props, but we were always just friends. And then even when I took time out, like I went to New York Film Academy in LA, a group of friends, including him and other friend Tracy, took time off of school to like pursue film. And he went to go pursue music, and they stayed away much longer. But we always kept in touch and supported each other on our creative journeys. So when this came up, like, Classic Man was out. He was in Janelle Monáe's camp. Saint Beauty was out at the time. I remember hitting up Janelle to be like, hey, we're doing a show. Can you give us all your music? I just asked him to be a part of this.
My wife does not get starstruck by people. And I remember her saying she loved Classic Man. She'd be like, I'm married to a classic man. My son's a classic man at the time. Right. And that was like her jam. And I remember I was like, oh, guess who we're going to have in the episode? And she's like, who? And I said, oh, Jidenna. She was like, for real? And I was like, is he like singing or something? Like, just like, he cries. He asked me about empanadas and shit. I was like, wait, why are you even saying that line? But it was the first time I remember. So I remember meeting him, and obviously he's a very handsome man, cool dude, tall, obviously. And my favorite memory of Jidenna is for people obviously who haven't seen, he's going to be in another episode that we'll talk about later. But in this episode, it's the first time Molly meets him at the bar. And I remember she obviously had broken up with Brandon from the league, and she's also having a bad day at work about the whole Dada stuff, right? Yeah. So she's kind of stressed about she's like, my white boss wants me to fire the black person and
have a talking to
reprimand the
other black employee.
And you see him, he's trying to talk to her, but her mind is somewhere else. And and he's making these sort of like undercutty, like playful things. And I remember trying to get him to like self-deprecate. And he was like, yeah. And we eventually get there. And I was like, he did a scene, and I was like, nah, it's still cool. Like, you're cool. I was like, it's like when you're like trying to get a girl to like you, so you're like kind of making fun of yourself. And he was like, okay, cool. And then he did. And I was like, I don't know. I was like, hey man, it's like, you got to tap dance a little bit. You trying to do this? And that's when I realized, oh, this nigga's never had to tap dance for the pussy. I had to tap dance for the pussy. This nigga is. I had to make all the little jokes and be like, ha, 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 ha. Now when he breaks up with her, that's smooth as shit. That was like one take. I was just like, oh, I know how to break up with these hoes. I do not know how to sing for myself.
That was when you had I got jokes.
I got jokes. Yes. And I was like,
with your realization, hey girl, I got jokes. So shout out to Jidenna for bringing out Prentice's insecurity.
Yeah. I was like, oh, he's never had to work. I was like, yeah, you 6 foot something, you sing, green eyes. Yeah, you never, tall Michael Ealy ass nigga, you never had to work for it.
Jidenna, you did great.
He did. You did great. Me, Spike Lee, little nigga. I make films. Look at that, girl. I'm framing you in the shot. I'm at the tap dance for shit. I was like, I don't know how to write that at all, brother. I'll do the best.
So after we get to see this sexy scene of Molly and Jidenna dancing, we go to Lawrence, kind of dejected, having lunch with none other than Tasha, who works at the bank next to Best Buy, which we established. Do you remember anything in particular about that scene that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I do. I think it's the first time, Lawrence is obviously in a vulnerable spot, right? And I think one of the things we named her Tasha, because it reminded me of my wife, whose name is also Tasha. Yeah. And I was saying that she's also like the kind of person that's like there to pick you up. And the one thing that I think is interesting about where we are is you have one woman, I think in Issa, Lawrence is kind of encumbered by his past with her. And I think it's a certain way that Issa is seeing him the way he is. And I think Tasha's seeing him for what he could be. Yeah. Right. And there's an energy there that happens and we're toying around with like who has what, like work wife, work husband kind of things. And they don't work together. They're more like mall husband, wife a little bit. But it was something where he's down about woot, he's down about this. And she's like impressed that he's gonna make a real lap. And she's like, I'm gonna be a bank manager. It's like sometimes I think we can think so big, like, oh, I had all these things, and we don't always think about the small successes that happen too. And I think Tasha's a good reminder of like the small successes of that, which I think are obviously picking him up in a way, And so I think that's a very interesting thing that's happening that certainly lends for where things go. But
absolutely, Issa's looking at him through old eyes, and she is committed to like being on this path with him again. But Tasha's seeing a brand new version of him. She's seeing the person that is constantly trying. She's been seeing him, apply for jobs and, cash these unemployment checks. And I'm sure she doesn't meet a lot of dudes that have these like grand ambitions. So this is impressive to her.
It's interesting in the episode that as I draw like kind of a through line, even though Tasha's not one of our main characters, she certainly is a woman in the episode. There's also a lot of, I think, in this episode to the thirst of it, and maybe the thirst and this next thought kind of go together, which is like wish fulfillment in niggas, right? So there's like a wish fulfillment of what Jidenna or the doctor could be. There's sort of a wish fulfillment about what Lawrence could be. There's sort of a wish fulfillment of like who Daniel is as like the what if a little bit. Can you speak to, I'm just curious about like in real life, if there is that sort of like thirst or that is the wish fulfillment of what a nigga could be comes along with that.
You fall in love with potential all the time. And then women are, and I've been fully guilty of seeing someone hearing their ambitions and seeing the future of what they could be. And yeah, I know plenty of us who fall in love with potential, and sometimes it's wrong. And sometimes it's, we're sometimes too living in the future as opposed to the now. And it can be hard you can be blind to sometimes the inaction or how
it's like you never see the potential of where it's going to go wrong. It's always like, it feels like when I hear women talk about that or like it didn't work, it's like it's all upside. It's never like, well, but this isn't great.
But I think that's like honeymoon phase stuff. I think that varies. Like you can see red flags and choose to ignore them. Right. But there's some people who see red flags and are like, oh, I'm out. And I think if it's all about wanting to see the good in someone and wanting to be on that journey when they do become successful.
Yeah. One of the things obviously that sort of, is a big sort of culmination in this episode is Daniel showing up to career day, which Issa had no problem this nigga showing up to the career day, but the job or whatever. But so Issa fulfilled that. It's Frida's diabolical plan. He's showing up. It's also the first time that you're sort of seeing him do his music thing and kind of hearing more of, because at the thing in the pilot, he's not making music, right? Yeah. So it's also a sort of a thing where you're really not seeing Lawrence live out his, but you're sort of watching Daniel live out his. Can you sort of speak to what that felt like, what that might have felt like for the character?
Yeah, I mean, I think in some ways, Issa is the Tasha to Daniel in some way, where she's like, oh, I've watched you, my man might not have made his dreams come true, but I've watched you since we were younger talk about these music ambitions, and you're actually living it and you're doing it, and that is attractive to me.
And also like you're not living out your full thing either
at all. And maybe these are things that and he knows these things about her. He knows that she used to rap, and he also finds that part of her endearing. And we talked about this is a piece that he knows that Lawrence doesn't know. And so watching him, though she doesn't want to be a rapper, and we've established that, it still reminds her like there was a part of her that dreamt bigger, and she's not where she's at. So it goes back to this, like, I see this potential in someone else, and you know, what if I rose with them and they see this part in me that maybe I can be free with? But it's always that what if, and that it's unrealistic. But watching him in that classroom, one of my favorite parts is obviously Denise shutting him down. But I was also watching this and I was like, it's been 10 years. Some of these kids are in our 20s now, which is crazy. It's crazy to think about. Yeah. And one of the other gems that we got is like one of the younger actors just breaking out in dance, and like that was crazy. That was I remember when that happened, because it was just like, oh, we didn't ask him. They were just dancing. He was vibing. And then he was just vibing, and the kid just did a flip. So like that reaction that you see in the episode obviously is real. And I remember, I'll never forget, it was also the day we had to move parents away from Video Village. I don't know if you know this. So a lot of the parents would kind of be by video, but for people who don't know, like Video Village is where like the producers and directors are watching the thing on monitors, and there are seats for the producers and whomever to watch as well. So a lot of times the parents would be somewhere else, but at that point there were seats by the things to watch, and you're sort of watching the parents. Right. And I remember when the boy did the flip, that mom, she was like, look at my boy flipping. That's right. and then I watched the other, and then I remember Kevin Bray be like, hey, let's get a close up of that thing. Can you do that again? The kid was like, yeah. And she was like, because he wasn't like a featured kid. He didn't talk. He wasn't like Denise or any other kids. He was just like, I'm just doing it. And so she was like, yeah. You gonna get closer. And then I remember one of the other mamas being like, after the take, being like, she walked into her son. She's like, hey, you got to dance harder. Oh, and we were like, what is happening right now? And so that was the last day we let parents be by video. We were like, okay, the parents gotta go. I'm fighting for the screen.
Because then this one mom came up to me and was like, hey, you know, my son can do this and my son can do that.
My daughter does ballet.
And I was like, oh no,
she can ballet to the beat. That's crazy. The kids were all talented.
All of them.
That was definitely a highlight of the scene. And then of course the walk and talk afterwards is where, you know, we get to see some of the chemistry between Issa and Daniel. And just as he invites her to the studio, he gets a call. And that leads us into our big celebrity cameo for the season. Ty Dolla shows up.
Shout out to Ty Dolla.
Shout out to Ty Dolla. You know, it was an ask.
Yeah, yep.
It was a long shot. And he said yes. And he was our first celebrity guest. And we'd always maintain, like, we did say in the beginning of this episode, we didn't want to have like big celebrity
and
names.
Make him feel like he's so far over there as a producer.
But I mean generally. We didn't want to have celebrity cameos. We want it to be like a different world where we give like musicians or whatever their first roles. And that was also part of casting Jidenna. And then of course having Ty Dolla
two music guys
come in. Two big music guys come in. And so Ty Dolla, this team was iconic. This was like he came up with the melody for
I don't think it was meant to be in the script.
Could be
that he just did that. It wasn't I think
we wrote he
sings?
Yeah,
okay. But the melody was his, because obviously we didn't have
and
that.
It was beautiful.
What the hell? What are you doing there?
I don't know. It's your fantasy.
But I got a man.
And where is he? Real talk, though. I knew you was gonna call me after I came up to your job.
How'd you know that, Mirror Daniel?
'Cause I've always been your what-if guy. Like, what if we finally could give us a shot? What if we were both single at the same time? What if I could introduce you to Ty Dolla?
Where did Ty Dolla just come from?
You right, man. I should write a song about her.
You talking to Ty Dolla about me? How is this your life?
What if this could be our life?
That took a lot of technical aspects, and I said it was my favorite scene, but it was actually not my favorite scene to shoot.
I'm about to say, how was it to shoot that scene?
There were so many parts. You had to, obviously get all my coverage, and then the coverage in the mirror, and then Daniel had to do a part, and then we had to get Jay to come in and do a part, and then Molly to show up, and it was just a lot. But I didn't know how it was all gonna work. I was like, Kevin does music videos.
Yeah.
I'm sure he knows what he's doing, but he was the best equipped to
He
figure
sure
that out
was.
because he knew
He sure
exactly what
was.
to do.
One of the things that I was never really sure about, because I couldn't tell if we were going too far, is it when the champagne comes out.
We could do whatever.
Because I was like, is that too? Because it was the first time a lot of things are happening in the mirror, and I was like, is that too far? I was like, if it don't work, fuck it, we'll just cut it. But it's funny, and it just works so great. Like you don't question it. You're just like, clearly, obviously, she doesn't have champagne in her hand, but it was always a line of like, what? It was still figuring out what can the mirror do? What are the rules of the mirror? And then we just say, well, fuck it, there are no rules. Like the rules is like whatever Issa thinks in her mind. That's going to be the rule. And so,
we also established in this scene by Molly coming in at the end that like this literally, like I guess we've never had anybody really pop up on Issa's
in the mirror. You're right.
And like, what did she see?
Yeah, that's exactly. We just like, what did she see? Who are you talking to?
Psychic. I mean, so psychotic. But what struck me about even in the delivery and rewatching it was just like Molly has been a writer for Lawrence. Like she's constantly checking Issa about Lawrence with the I like Lawrence, bitch, I love him, and then the like in this one she's like, do you remember that you're in a relationship with him?
Yeah. She's a good friend.
She's a good friend, but I think we were also laying the groundwork for obviously this big fight that they were gonna have at the end of the season. And you kind of need that friend that has to remind you, like, bitch,
don't fuck this up.
Don't fuck this up. This is a good man.
It's real out here.
That's a good man.
I have a thought, and I'm curious your thought about this. Speaking about who the real villains are.
I don't like that.
Who the real villains are.
I don't like it when you smile.
So when I was rewatching this scene, and obviously I've seen everything and where the season goes, and obviously that moment where she's like caking up for Lawrence, I was like, do you think Molly low-key?
Now you sound like the audience.
I'm just when I was watching it again, obviously we know Yvonne's not playing with that intention. But I was like, she's always talking about how good of a man Lawrence is,
because she's really out here.
I know, but at that point, she had met Jidenna, so it's not like she's like, I'm saying like, she and Jidenna's character are not anything, obviously, but she's not like, if she had said it's just off breaking up with the doctor dude, then I'd be like, oh, okay, she might, but she talks about that in the nail salon, and she talks about how good of a dude he is.
Well, I think it's also because she does not like Daniel, and she does not like Issa, Daniel for Issa, and I think that's part of it too, of just like, this is not the guy for you. First of all, I have terrible associations with Daniel in my memory because he's the one that makes you go on stage and sing about my broken pussy, try to impress this nigga. So he's a bad influence on you, and he is going to fuck up like what I think is your most solid relationship, you guys. And you don't want to be out here like me, even though I'm good right now. Like he has been a solid individual, and Molly, I would argue that as loyal as Molly is to Lawrence, he dissed her in the first episode talking about her standards are too high. So it's kind of unjustified.
But that's my question, I guess. To the like Molly's character would not date, at least in terms of like crossing off like where he is right now, right? She would not date him, right? But she might have dated the other version of Lawrence. So that was really my question, is like, because obviously we never see that Lawrence, but we can see when Lawrence starts working in Meridian, you can see how a confident Lawrence in shape, obviously as Jay, is like looks, right? And so I would imagine Issa met some version of that Lawrence in the years past. So Molly's seen that Lawrence, so she's seen the decline of a guy, right? So I guess in her mind, is she like, oh, I remember what he was. You're maybe too close to the situation. Do you think she's like, you're just too close to it?
I think it must be that. I mean, like at some point, and she still does, like, Issa really loved Lawrence, and I think Molly is holding on to that and does want the best for her girl. And he isn't like a bad guy,
no, of course not.
Like, and I think that that's also part of it. Is like maybe even in Daniel's past, I think if this were someone like in her eyes that was equivalent or better than Lawrence, then she'd be like, "Girl, do what you gotta do." Like, but I think Daniel is the part that matters.
Yeah, I get that. So after Issa has this crazy fantasy with Daniel, Ty Dolla, all the things, she's leaving. And right before the episode wraps and she's walking out, the students discover broken pussy on the internet. Can you talk about just where we came up with that from and sort of what that process was like to film that part?
Yeah, it was really exciting to like discuss that in the writer's room. Just like, what if this what if the kids discovered Issa's video? And I think, at the time we gave a lot of real estate to that. Like, it'll derail, would it derail her career? We got y'all. And we got a great note again of just like, let's make sure that the discovery of the video isn't about like her work consequences, because that's what feels episodic, but how does that affect her personal life? And of course, like, and it's embarrassing, and it sends her on this journey which we'll see in episode 5, to try to just get rid of it. But the work consequences, nobody was really interested in.
It was also a thing too of seeing like life reminding you of your past mistakes, which is like, just when like you're like, I've leveled up, or I'm dealing with this. It's like I got another fucking thing to deal with. So it was a good reminder that life is like, no, I'm gonna throw this back out there for you. Remember this night?
Yeah, it was just a couple weeks ago. Like, why is this up? And why are kids so good at researching? Why can they find everything?
Smart ass kids.
So we got to compare this episode now. What do you think about it versus 10 years ago? Is there anything you would have done differently? Anything we got right?
I think actually in this episode, I feel like we got a lot right. Because I feel like it was a lot of things that we were finding that worked in terms of like telling stories for them, finding creative ways to use the mirror. I don't necessarily think about anything that like I would go like, oh, I would change this or I would change that about it. I think the Ty Dolla sign stuff just was like, so I think that aged great.
Yeah, this is, I think, the first episode I watched and rewatched and was like, oh, okay, I'm actually enjoying this. I'm not thinking about like all the mistakes and all the bad parts and whatever it is. It felt like enjoyable and fun to watch. And then the most satisfying part was obviously discovering the true villain of Insecure. So like being able to being free of, judgment there and really pinpointing
it would like the
cause of all this.
Yeah. Like the whole series is like based
really
off
it's about
Free
this
to
white
ruin
woman
it.
trying to take her down.
I would love if we ever shot a version of the series from Frida's point of view.
I know. Do you think she's still at We Got Shaw?
I definitely think she's still at We
We
Got
talked
Shaw.
about maybe she took Joanne's role, and that was
especially right now. I feel like it would be she'd be super advocacy about this situation.
Absolutely. We only drink Gatorade Lower Sugar around here.
Gatorade Lower Sugar hydrates better than water. There's no artificial sweeteners, flavors, or color.
And it has 75% less sugar, but all the electrolytes of regular Gatorade.
So in the summer heat, don't be thirsty. Go get some Gatorade Lower Sugar.
The block is hot, and we know y'all have questions, theories, and conspiracies.
We want to hear them all. Don't get quiet or stingy now.
So if you're really about that life, call the Blocc Party hotline at 323-948-1403 for a chance to hear your questions and our answers live on the show. Okay, y'all, it's that time. Y'all got questions, we got answers. So let's get into our latest fan question segment presented by Gatorade Lower Sugar. Okay, this viewer says, Molly and Jidenna's date chemistry this episode was very believable. Thank you. We were rooting for our girl because dating is a struggle. What other storylines did you all consider for Molly's love life besides the dating app roulette?
So I think the chemistry was there because Yvonne was.
But don't blast my girl.
I'm not. But one of the things that we had that we came up with was that one of the things that obviously comes up a lot is like good Black women in church. And so we had come up with a storyline where Molly was gonna be celibate because she had met a guy in the church. And so she was like, oh, she went to church to meet a nigga. She meets a nigga and she's like, can I be celibate though? And now, and we just never, I think we just never could make it work.
No, I think that's what it was. That was when they were getting into like these feel episodic.
Oh, yes.
Where it's like, oh, she's doing this for one episode. And maybe, I think we were going to drag it out.
I think we were, but I think it also felt like maybe at the time it felt not as sexy because of the way that I think we would have made it as such. God.
And then I feel like we almost thought about this for the Jared episode because I remember we had like the dry humping episode.
Yes.
Where they were like dry humping in jeans or something.
Yeah, that's right. She was going to be like dry humping in jeans with the guy from church.
Yeah, so we did think about it and we nixed it.
You see, I think Jidenna's probably a better.
Yeah, let's just
a better flow. Well, thank you guys for sending in your questions and please keep them coming.
To find exclusive Blocc Party content and to submit your own questions, make sure to follow HOORAE's Instagram page.
Thank you for tuning in to Blocc Party, an Insecure podcast.
And make sure you subscribe to our YouTube and follow @HOORAE Media on all platforms. We'll see y'all next week.